Our next stop for 90 clinics in 90 days and our next Limber partner highlight is at OrthoPro, which is in Twin Falls, Idaho. OrthoPro seems like a pretty cool operation. They've got the coolest mobile vans that I've seen, that are decked out with a legit lab in the back of those vans. And then from what David told me, their lab sounds amazing for all the technicians out there. But these guys are brand new Limber partners, so they haven't even fit a unileg yet. We're excited to get them going on that process. So David's able to take some time to sit down and talk with the CPOs about what makes them different, what, sets them apart in the area that they're in, and what they love doing, which is taking care of patients and helping patients reach their goals. They talk about the importance of goal setting, fighting insurance, and the importance of education early on in amputation, which are all things that I talk about heavily. And so really fun conversation with these guys that was more just about general prosthetic care. It also sounds like these guys work really hard, which is something that I think all of us appreciate when it comes down to it.
Well, the reason I got into stuff was because I wanted to help people and I like to work with my hands. And so prosthetics and orthotics was just a natural fit for me. I went to the University of Washington in their program there. And back then it was a bachelor's program along with the PTs and stuff. And since it's gone into a master's program, and there's a residency program that you have to complete after doing school. And so we also have residents that come and do the residencies with us as well. I did mine in New York, and the quickest you could get through is 3 years. Now it's 18 months. And so they've really improved that process now. We have this office here in Twin, one in Burley, and one in Idaho Falls as well. So Rod runs our Idaho Falls office, and along with his wife, which also, Christine, so she also does the mastectomy portion of that care, and she brings that specialty to our clinics. And then they do travel currently between Twin and Idaho Falls.
Got into prosthetics because of my father, actually. He was a type 1 diabetic, retired from the military and got into prosthetics. And I went to Northwestern University in Chicago and studied prosthetics and orthotics, did the residency, and that was 35 years ago.
Wow. And then Ben also runs out of our Burley clinic as well, at least one day a week. So we're able to see those patients in those areas and help them out if they're not able to come to the Twin Falls office. Ben, as a machine, how many patients do you see on average during the day?
Somewhere in the mid-teens to 20 sometimes, and other times like 11, but it's usually a double-digit number most days. I got into the field because I thought it'd be cool to give people back their mobility. I had a friend growing up who used a prosthesis, had some friends and family friends too who used leg braces to get around. So I'd been exposed to it when I was younger. I thought I might go into physical or occupational therapy, or maybe go into orthopedic surgery. And I was talking with my kinesiology professor and asking him if I could pick his brain on pros and cons of OT versus PT. And he said, yeah, sure, let's meet. And then we were walking through the hall and on our way to talk about it, and he just kind of like stopped in his tracks and he said, just a thought, have you considered prosthetics and orthotics? And I said, I don't need to talk to you anymore. That's exactly what I want to do. I forget OT and PT. That sounds amazing.
But there's always lots of fun things to do here, and things that are close by, lakes and parks and trails and even ski resorts that aren't too far away, although we didn't get a lot of snow this year. But so it's nice to see those patients that wind up doing things like participating with CAF, the Challenged Athletes Foundation. We have one that we share that, ice skating and skiing, and even the youth that are not prosthetic patients, but maybe orthotic patients, participating in ski events, things like that. So that's a really rewarding part of it. Being able to see VA patients, and some of those are just, they're animals. They're just like, wow, you can do it all. They're weightlifting, they're running, they're skiing, but it starts at that first point of, well, okay, for example, we have one that stepped on an improvised explosive device and was seen at Walter Reed, but then now lives in the Colorado area runs a bed and breakfast and still does all these activities, shovels the snow, and just able to do so many things, and we're able to help them out and improve their lives. Sometimes it takes a year to either get an approval or get paid. Well, the unsung heroes are sitting out the front there. They're on the phone with the insurance companies. My wife Stacy is always, even when we have to deal with appeals or denials, things like that, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're the ones up front that keep track of the things that are still outstanding.
It's quite the appeals process sometimes. Our resident had started, she did the consultation in December for this, and where she's finishing up and leaving this week, she said, okay, this one's going to be on you. It's just finally been approved, and we're going to be casting for this this leg, and it's going to have a microprocessor knee and stuff. And it's what, mid-June now? So 6 months, which is not typical, but sometimes it's just, you just have to keep going to bat for that. So to take as long as it takes and to fight those insurances and say, look at this stuff, this really is better. And in the long run, it will save you as the insurance company a lot of money, even because how long it takes you to delay their care just means you're going to be piling up all these other medical issues that'll pop up, and wheelchairs and walkers and hospital visits and stuff because they're not active anymore. So I think it's becoming a little easier to win those appeals and even avoid those appeals. And Medicare's done a really good job of now setting up prior authorization processes, and there are laws coming into place that are saying these insurances that are maybe Medicare Advantage plans, they have to start following Medicare rules, because they were trying to just do whatever they wanted. And so I think there's been some really big wins on the part of AOPA and AOP and all the ABC and all the different groups within our field that are going, direct to Congress and everywhere else and advocating for good care for the patients, and people out there who are banging out those studies and making sure they're really good studies, and advocating really for the patients to have access to what they need, just like, so every body can move. It's really cool that, you have your daily leg that you just walk around on, but what happens when I want to go back to doing this activity I always did before my amputation, and this leg's not really appropriate for that? It would be nice if I could have an activity specific leg and I could stay moving, and I'm not going to gain those 40 pounds that I never had before because I don't move as much. And so it's really neat what people are spending their time. That's usually not always paid time or anything. It's just because they care.
When you have something like this happen to you, it's pretty traumatic in your life if you have an amputation. So to help them understand the process, because this really is a lifelong relationship. It really is. And help them understand, do they have a payer source that's going to help them, insurance or whatnot? And there's going to be a patient responsibility. And okay, this is how this is going to work. How's the leg going to function? And if I need a prosthesis for my leg, and what's the interface like? And so there's a lot of education that goes along with it, and the patient should also have a voice in guiding the direction that things are headed. Like, how do you want this to look? If you're a female patient, you may really want it to look like a real leg. Or if you're very adventurous, you want it to look like, something out of RoboCop or whatnot. And there's a lot of different choices in componentry, and the prices for those components range greatly. So, if you have coverage, that's great. If you're on a limited budget, there's also options. But the thing is, what's your goal? We really try to identify what the goals are.
It's really fun to interact with them, because a lot of them they'll shoot you a text of a photo. Look, I just climbed this mountain, or I'm river rafting, or I just I ran in this race, or I'm riding a bike, or look at me walking on the beach.
It's a proud moment for both of you.
Yeah, I actually, it was really cool this year. Something that was pretty fun and kind of touching for me was we have a gentleman here locally who I've been making his prosthetics from when he first had his accident. He actually fell into the Snake River Canyon, and that was the cause of his limb loss. Just came right off. And anyway, he had a goal that a year from when his amputation happened, he wanted to be walking on the beach with his wife, which is something they would do every year and love to do there in Mexico. So he accomplished that goal, and it was really cool. But his wife and mine both shared in a similar health issue that was, really not fun for any of us to have to go through. And while he was in Mexico with his wife on a vacation, he reached out and he's like, and she had been at the time kind of overcoming that health issue, and he reached out and he said, "Hey, we know how lame this is and everything. My wife and I were wondering, vacations are kind of annoying to plan sometimes." And he said, "You want us to plan a vacation like ours? Or we paid for it all, of course, and everything, but
It's tough to plan everything."
Yeah, he's like, because at this point it wasn't like a patient prosthetist relationship. It was just us being friends and our wives being friends, and so he helped us to kind of plan out this cool vacation. Well, the neat thing was I got to go to the beach where the exact specific place where he took his first steps on the beach, which was his big goal that he had done. So it's kind of emotional and touching to go to that place that, I didn't think I'd ever get to go to, and see this is where he took his first steps. So it was really fun to kind of walk in his footsteps there.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to do that. But there's a lot of guys and gals that you make these relationships with, and they're so excited to come in and say, "Guess what I've done? I got this job, and I'm going up and down stairs, and I'm doing these things." And it's really cool to be a part of that. They want to come and tell you all the stuff that they're doing. And I remember one gal came in, and really cool story was she she went and visited some monument or something, and you had to go through a metal detector. And she went through it and it was going off, and she's just like, "What in the world is setting this off? Why is this going off? I don't know what's in my pockets." And then she says, and I had this moment of clarity of, "Oh yeah, I have a prosthetic leg, but I don't think about that every second of every day anymore. It's just totally natural. I just get around. I don't even think about it. It doesn't, I'm not having to think about every step." And she said, "And I went in the hot tub with it, and I rode a motorcycle with it." And she was just so excited, because when she first started, she's like, "How am I ever going to get on with life? How am I going to do with this?" And, now she picks out really cool designs for her legs when she gets them. And it's really fun to hear all those stories, and I'm sure I could just go on and on about it. I think Rod's done quite a few mission trips doing prosthetic legs and whatnot.
Where do you go?
Belize. But I also, when I'm on vacation in Mexico, if I meet somebody, see what I can do. And I've made a couple legs down in Cozumel, Mexico for local individuals there.
It's our passion. It's my passion to do what we do. And I just love the technology that goes along with prosthetics and orthotics.
So that was a little conversation with the CPOs at OrthoPro. Again, they have the Idaho Falls location. They also have a Burley location. Both of those are by appointment only, so make sure that you call ahead if you can't get into Twin Falls. Twin Falls is where we were at today, and going around the office, interviewing at the office there. Again, seems like a really nice space. Really cool guys that care about what they do. I mean, Ben, to see 20 plus patients a day, that's crazy, man. Good on you. Look out for our next 90 video coming soon. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Thank you.